Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Namaste Sunday service. I'm so happy to be able to join with all of you, as always. This sacred, holy joining, the holiest place on earth, where an ancient hatred becomes a present love. All around us, in our mind and projected from our mind, we have seen symbols of this hatred, of this division, of this separation. But now, in this moment, we claim the unity and the oneness that has always been true and which can never be compromised. That's the holiest place. If there is any place on earth that's holy, this is it, where this love, this light is claimed. And claiming is the key. We can't just haphazardly or in a lukewarm fashion just acknowledge. We have to claim. We have to actually seize the truth that has always been true. And we do that by sharing, by giving, by blessing. And that's the joining that we share here every day. And I'm so grateful for it. Here we are just a couple of days away from Christmas, where we celebrated not only the birth of Jesus, this one who had fully, completely embodied the Christ, but we celebrate the birth that is happening through and as each one of us right now, this very moment. And we could look at this, and it is good to look at this birth, 2,000 years ago especially, including now, as the personalization of the divine, of a personality, a person who has claimed this consciousness, just as you in a so-called or seeming person or personality has claimed and is claiming it now. And yet, Christmas is much more than that. This revelation, this transformation is much more than just you or anyone else as a person claiming something, because the person that you are trying to personify isn't real, isn't really there. And it's only by releasing the identity of that so-called person or that personality that we come into what we've been describing as the impersonal God. I've been reading from this book that I've been working on, and Barack, it's almost done. I'm doing pretty good here. I only have a few more to go. The impersonal light. We've said before that we like to look at the divine or God through a personal lens, a personalized deity, a God out there somewhere that is concerned about me here. And what we've learned is that there is no God out there, and there's no me here. And this is the step into the impersonal nature, not only of the divine, but of you, the dissolving of that person into the truth that is always true. And so this morning, I received an email from our good friend Rod Chelberg, who we just talked about a couple of days ago. And Rod, I think we shared the other day, really is inspired by the writings and the teachings of Joel Goldsmith, as am I. And Rod rather, sends out an email often with quotes and just inspirations that he receives from different pieces of Joel's writing. And so he sent out one this morning, and it really struck me because it takes us into that impersonal nature. But first we have to go through what we celebrated in Christmas. Maybe we don't have to, but we have chosen to allow the personalization, the embodiment for that I am consciousness to seem to be personalized in a Jesus who lived 2,000 years ago and as a you that is living now. But that it's really the dissolving of that into the impersonal that is really what we call the Christ or the I am. But it's even a step beyond all of that. You see, we talk a great deal here about the name of God that was given to Moses at the burning bush. In Hebrew, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I am that I am. But one of the things that we need to look at is the reduction of even that into the experience of I, the single I. Because the name begins, if we read it out in its totality, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, I am that I am. But then the reduction or the release or the dissolving into simply I am that. But that is the personification, the personalized self. I am that. And the step, of course, the very powerful and very important step is to be able to see that everywhere and to know I am all of that. But you see how it's still out there? Even that must now dissolve from I am that to I am. To the I am presence that is within us, that we share, that is all that is. But we don't even stop there. Because even the experience of am is manifestation. I am manifesting. And now, finally, even that need, idea, desire to manifest, it dissolves into simply I. So once again, we begin with I am that I am to I am that, the extension, the personification to I am, the manifestation, and then simply to the single experience of I am. And this is what Rod shared this morning from what Joel wrote in one of his books. And I want to share a little bit of this with you now so you can see how deep this can take us. So this is from Joel's book. I can tell you in a moment what it is. I just have to look, but I don't want to lose my place. I stand at the door and knock. I stand at the door and knock. That's a line that comes from Revelations. Do you not understand that that does not mean a man who lived 2,000 years ago? Do you not know that that does not mean any man today, any person today? Do you not know that that does not mean anything other than what it says, that I is knocking at the door and begging to be admitted, so that you will open the door of your consciousness and admit it? Will you open up the door of your consciousness and admit that single I? I is the creative principle of this universe. It seems to be I am that. But you see, if you take it from the other direction, how it continues to increase rather than to decrease. It begins with I am that, I am that I am, on and on and on. But what we're doing now, what we're allowing now, is the dissolving of all of that manifestation, all of that outward push, dissolving into that single I. Joel goes on to say, I is the creative principle of this universe, and this I has been knocking at the door of your consciousness for centuries, begging to be admitted, and you have held it back, localizing it. You see, there it is, localizing it in the Holy Land of 2,000 years ago. Just giving it to one man who lived 2,000 years ago, who lives now, but rather than accepting the eternal I within you as you, pushing it out once again, localizing it somewhere else. And that's what's dissolving. A bit more. The Infinite Way, which is Joel's first book in his organization, the Infinite Way reveals that this very I is the illumined consciousness, the God consciousness. that you are seeking, the I, the experience of I. This is what you're seeking. I is that illumination, that initiation, that enlightenment. The I of your being is the very food, clothing, housing, happiness, peace, and security that you are seeking. That I has always been knocking at the door, trying to get into your consciousness. Maybe this is the perfect message for us right after Christmas. Because Christmas is the celebration in most traditional ways of the pushing out of the I into a personalized form. And that has had great value. Because once again, we are coming back into the experience. We had to go all the way out to I am that I am, and then all the way back into the I. And this is the experience of Christ consciousness, of I am consciousness. It certainly was the experience of Jesus, or of any other enlightened being that you may choose, because it is what it is. That is what enlightenment is. The experience of that single I, and it can be yours. It is yours right now, if you would but claim it. There is no process through which this happens. There are no steps through which you become I. There is only a dissolving into that single experience. That's what you're called to. That's what the real message of the Christmas season is dissolving into I. So, a few moments ago, I wrote a song about this. And I want to share in it. The chorus is very simple. In fact, I'll sing it once, and then when we get to it, I'm going to invite you to sing it with me. Okay? It's called, guess what? It is I. It is I. It is I. It is I leading you home. It is I. It is I. For the truth is, you've never really been alone. Sing that with me. It is I. Excuse me. It is I. It is I leading you home. It is I. It is I. For the truth is, you've never really been alone. It is I. It is I. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? Can you see the light in my eyes? I am with you, always with you, and I have seen through this ancient disguise. You've claimed for yourself what could never be true, but I'm here now, waiting for you. Sing this with me now. It is I. It is I. It is I leading you home. It is I. It is I. For the truth is, you've never really been alone. It is I. It is I. It is I leading you home. It is I. truth is, you've never really been alone. It is I. Oh, it is I. I can see you, always see you, and I see through the illusion you claim. They dissolve now, they dissolve now into love now, for that's the reason you came. You've claimed for yourself what could never be true, but I am here now, waiting for you. It is I. It is I. It is I leading you home. It is I. It is I. For the truth is, you've never really been alone. It is I. It is I. It is I leading you home. It is I. Yes, it is I. For the truth is, you've never really been alone. It is I. It is I. It is I. Let's just hold still for a moment and breathe in those three words that mean everything. It is I. That's all we need, because that's all there is. Now we claim it. It's that simple. We say yes, and then we extend. We see it everywhere. Only the I. Not even I am. Even that has faded. The manifestation of I. All we need now is that single I, that single experience, that single light. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Vicky and hear what our dear Victoria has to share around that. Good morning, Vicky.
Good morning, Jimmy. Good morning, everyone. Happy Christmas Sunday. Well, of course, back to how do I claim it? How do I live in it? Who is the I that's leading me home? It's everyone, anyone, everyone that comes into my vision before me, into my thought, in my mind, into my feelings, in my heart. Jesus was asked once, how would they know his disciples? And he said, ye shall know them by their love. And this is the love that passes understanding. This is the love when two or more are gathered in my name of I, there I am. This is the love that is the commandment, love ye one another. This is it. It's really so simple because there's no discernment. Everything, everyone is leading us home if we're willing to be led home and claim it. And nothing but love. And there's no reason but to rejoice. And here's a handmade card from Lana. Many of you know Lana. And that's how we live this. That's how the only way I know to claim it is to know that everyone knocking on my door is that Christ energy asking for welcome, for residence in my whole being, that I see it, that I see only that, and then let everything else fill in as it wills. Love and do what you will. Seek ye first the kingdom, and then all these other things shall come. Those are all my biblical ideas for the day.
You
Thank
got a
you.
lot of them in there. Good job.
Got a lot in there.
You know, it's amazing when we do look at so many of the biblical or even traditional passages or customs, how they really do speak to this very directly. The teachings of someone like Joel Goldsmith or A Course in Miracles or whatever it may be, there's nothing new about them. That's one of the reasons why I love Richard Rohr. You know, the church would love to silence him because he is teaching the truth. The reason they can't is because he always pulls from scripture to back up what he says, and he is always showing how this was the original tradition. So there's no way they can nail him on being blasphemous because he's smart enough to show how this has always been the teaching. Somehow we got away from it, but this has always been what it is. And this is exactly what Richard would say, because this is what non-dual, the experience of non-duality is. That single I, not even I am anymore, but to relax into the I, into the very presence. Thank you, Vicky. So let's
Thanks.
turn to Teddy. You want to share anything, Ted?
Well, I think Joel was a little confused today if he's saying there's only I and he thinks he's talking to someone else telling him that. So I'm not entirely sure what he was trying to say. And if we really are going to say that the words mean nothing, then we got to stop defining them and stop breaking them apart and just be who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, you can't be I alone because there is no such thing as separation, and you obviously are one with something as a creator because you know you didn't create yourself. So the need to join with your brother and is always, a good thing, and that's where we join. If we want to talk about, we join together in what we are, and we are that. We are what we are as God created us, and no words can describe that. Um, However we try to teach it, it's always the experience that's required. And that's pretty much it. We are one.
Mm.
We are what I am is, or we are what ising is. So it's Sunday? It's an interesting Sunday morning. And James, aren't you on another show today too?
I don't think so. Am I?
Three? Aren't you at three with Lisa and Tolly and those guys?
No, I don't know anything about it.
Really? Well, they're using you to advertise then.
I'll have to check that out. I don't know anything about it, but I'll certainly. It wouldn't be surprising if there's something that I forgot. So thank you for alerting me to the possibility.
Because I was checking the time. I thought it was early this morning, and I checked the time, and it said it was 3.
Send that to me, would you?
Okay.
But I'm really glad that you brought up what you did because what you were expressing really is the difficulty of words and concepts. I mean, who is the I that is telling you that it's I? And and when I am in the realization of this current of I, then I have no need to share with anyone else, only to join. But at the same time, there is this percolation, there is this emanation that occurs that you can't stop when you are in that experience. And even though it, everything I said today, everything you said, or Vicky, or anyone is going to say is ultimately false. It points, it all points in the right direction. Now we begin to walk in that direction. But you're right, words can never do it. What Joel wrote was beautiful, but it's also meaningless.
Jimmy, that's why, I keep on talking about guidance. When it says in the Course, you say God is, and then you simply cease to speak, you know, and then you find yourself here and somebody's asking you something. Well, what do I speak? I don't want to mislead anybody. I don't want to lead anybody astray. And I want to be what's helpful in the moment. And from the limited perspective we have here, we would never know, which is why we go to something that's beyond this world and can see entirely. And I ask for guidance because otherwise I really wouldn't know. In this, after I had the experience of waking up, I wouldn't know what the hell to do, say, or anybody. Who knows? Because it's like it's all none of this is true in reality.
Yeah.
So I want to convey as the truth as best I can to whoever it is I'm speaking to.
Knowing that I'll
In
always
order,
fail.
right? But the desire for communication is everything,
That's right.
and to follow the guidance that I get that shows me how that is possible is everything. And what we're talking about is the reason why I asked for guidance because who knows here?
Yeah.
Who
Beautiful.
knows?
Only I. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Vicky.